Hi, Assalamualaikum and very good day to every one of you. Welcome back to our class session. So today we're going to continue with our lecture. So the title for this class is Introduction to Recreational Fisheries, some basic concepts and ideas. So this is the outline of the class today, where we're going to visit the overview on some basic concepts and ideas of recreational fisheries, right? So this course is focused on the importance of recreational fisheries, and in particular its importance in Malaysia. Recreational fisheries is one of the four types of fisheries that existing in the current human society, where the other types are including the capture fisheries, culture fisheries, and ornamental fisheries. We're going to go through one by one each of them. So this picture should illustrate for the capture fisheries. I think most of you guys know what is this. This is the um, commercial fishing boats, especially in Malaysia. Meanwhile, this picture should illustrate the culture fisheries or aquaculture, of big rounded fish cage in the middle of the lake. And this picture should illustrate the ornamental fisheries. Meanwhile, this picture should again, you know, giving you guys idea of recreational fisheries. So we start with capture fisheries. Capture fisheries is a type of fisheries that is primarily focused on capturing or catching fish in open waters for a variety of human consumptive needs using a variety of fishing techniques. So this act of catching and capturing fish is called as fishing, right? So capture fisheries is known as the oldest, the largest, and the most important fisheries in the world today, in terms of scale of operation, the quantity of the fish produced, the economic value of the fish catch, and also the contribution to the human, um, especially towards the socio-economic needs. Meanwhile, culture fisheries or aquaculture is a type of fisheries that is primarily focused on the culture or raising fish in either controlled or semi-controlled environments for a variety of human consumptive needs, using a variety of culture techniques. So culture fisheries is known as aquaculture. So culture fisheries is the second oldest, second largest, and most important fisheries in the world, also after capture fisheries, in terms of the same reason that we mentioned earlier. The third one is ornamental fisheries, is the type of fisheries that is primarily focused on the culture of fish with unique characteristics that will be used exclusively as ornaments or decorative objects or objects of appreciation in human, daily living activities. So the culture of ornamental fish in ornamental fisheries is actually an element of culture fisheries or aquaculture, still the same, but fish culture is not the only feature of ornamental fisheries. There's also the other culture of aquatic plants for aquarium decoration and other features that being cultured to make ornamental fisheries different or distinct from aquaculture. Meanwhile, recreational fisheries is a type of fisheries that primarily focus on fishing as a major form of recreation for humans. And recreational fisheries is the focus of this course, as you know about it, and we'll talk more about recreational fisheries in this course. Those are some of the pictures of recreational fisheries. It can, be conducted by uh, different type of people, including adults or kids, men, women, and including on the right side is people collecting shellfishes also should be considered as conducting recreational fisheries. So how do the fisheries differ from one another? So each of the four types of the fisheries is distinct or different from one another, and they are different in terms of these two major things. The first one is techniques, and the second one is the objectives. In capture fisheries, for example, fish resource exploitation is conducted through fishing in open waters, usually using all fishing techniques. The main objective of the capture fisheries is for the commercial purposes, production of fish and fishery products. They are mostly used as animal protein for food, for human consumption, although they are also for other reason for the non-human food users. Right? So those are the illustration of the capture fisheries. Meanwhile, in culture fisheries or aquaculture, fish resource exploitation is exploited through culture or raising fish in aquatic environment that can be fully or partially controlled by humans. So this environment include like fish pond, fish cage, fish pens, and etc. The main objectives of aquaculture in the commercial production of fish and fishery products are mostly for human food. So kind of similar to the capture fisheries, um, but the techniques of the resource exploitation in aquaculture are different from those in capture fisheries. I think you guys can tell the difference, right? The third one, ornamental fisheries, the fish resources were exploited through the culture or raising of ornamental fish in aquatic environment that can be fully or partially controlled by human, just like in aquaculture. But the main objective of ornamental fisheries is completely different from aquaculture. Fish produced from ornamental fisheries are exclusively used as ornaments or objects of decoration in homes, in office, and other human living environments, and not for other reasons, specifically not for food, right? Not for human consumption at all. So ornamental fisheries is a non-food type of fisheries, unlike capture fisheries and different from culture fisheries. And in recreational fisheries, fish resource exploitation is through the catching or capturing fish in open waters. Thus, fishing is involved in recreational fisheries, just like in capture fisheries. Yet, the main objective of recreational fisheries is completely different from capture fisheries, where in recreational fisheries, recreational fishermen, the one who conduct the fishing, catch fish primarily for the reason of recreation, where recreation can be defined as fun, leisure, hobby, sports, something like that. Which is different from capture fisheries, where in capture fisheries, commercial fishermen catch fish primarily for income, for commercial purposes. So for this reason, recreational fisheries is distinctly different from capture fisheries, in terms of the objectives. Well, however, they are all fisheries. We described each of them in a little detail earlier just now. I think you guys get the ideas. What about similarities? Do they share any similarities or things in common? Yes, these four fisheries share many similarities and common bonds. Capture fisheries and recreational fisheries, for example, are basically two different forms of capture fisheries. Fishing or catching fish in open waters is involved in these both type of fisheries. What makes them different from one another is just the objective as well as the techniques of fishing. Okay, they are different, but they're the same, but they are different actually. Similarly, culture fisheries or aquaculture and ornamental fisheries are basically two types of fisheries. of culture fisheries. Fish culture is involved in both type of fisheries, so they are very related. Culturing fish in a aquatic environment, but what makes them different from each other is the different objective inherent in these two type of fisheries. And of course, both of capture fisheries and recreational fisheries are also related to culture fisheries. This is because today many fish stocks or fish that being released in open waters that support the capture fisheries and also supporting the recreation fisheries are originated from fish stocking programs. These programs use usually hatchery raised fish where they raise the fish in a hatchery and then they release into the open waters, and then fish hatcheries in turns are an integral part of aquaculture because fish are cultured and produced here at the hatchery. All right, so these three type of fisheries are also related. So this is just example: hatchery raised fish in a concrete tank, and then being released what we call as fish stocking program in natural waters. Sometimes they use this type of truck using a fish truck. For example, this is like in the US, probably different what happened in Malaysia here. And at the end, it being utilized or caught by the anglers, and people seems happy with that. So they are kind of related. Finally, we can also see the links between ornamental fisheries with recreational and capture fisheries. Keeping ornamental fish in aquariums or other places as hobby to enjoy watching them is a form of recreation. And so ornamental fisheries is related to recreational fisheries conceptually. They are different, but they are kind of related. Also, many commercially important ornamental fishes are primarily sourced through catching them in the wild, or at least the broodstock of the fish are captured from the wild. So this makes ornamental fisheries very related to the capture fisheries, where the broodstock or the fishes sometimes being collected from the wild. All right. So let's focus on recreational fisheries. In detail, what is exactly recreational fisheries? Recreational fisheries is broadly defined as all human activities associated with recreational fishing and inclusive of it. From the definition, you can see the terms recreational fishing. So we have two terms here that are conceptually different in terms of meaning from one another. The first one is recreational fisheries. The second one is recreational fishing. All right. The terms recreational fisheries and recreational fishing does not mean the same, although they are very related. Recreational fishing is defined as any fishing activity carried out at any given time primarily for the purpose of obtaining recreation. So it is the fishing activities, which is different from recreational fisheries in general. So you can see from the definition that recreational fishing is just one specific recreational activity to obtain recreation, while recreational fisheries refer to the group of activities. It is like the overall things, recreational fisheries. So any questions so far? Recreational fishing as a specific recreational activity has the same status as other recreational activities. So the status is kind of the same like bird watching, boating, canoeing, jungle trekking, you name it, mountain climbing, bungee jumping, water skiing, um, playing soccer or any other game activities that supposed to uh, relate to recreation. So they are kind of the same, have the same status. Okay. In other words, we do many specific activities in our lives to get recreation. Fishing is just one of these activities, right? So this is women anglers enjoying fishing, freshwater prawn or udang galah in a big river there. Recreational fisheries, on the other hand, is a collection of human activities which also included recreational fishing. Just remember the difference. What about the people? People who participate in recreational fishing are called recreational fishermen, especially in the US. But this term seems alien in Malaysia, where in BM we are not used to call them recreational fishermen, but still we can use them in English here in Malaysia. Sport fishermen, apart from recreational fishermen, is sometimes used to call people who primarily fish for recreation. Recreational fishing is sometimes called sport fishing as well, especially in the US, where fishing for recreation is considered as a sport. Subsequently, recreational fisheries is also sometimes called as sports fisheries because it focuses on sport fishing. As its name implies, recreational fisheries is a recreation-based fisheries. Recreation is a sociological parameter, that is, people seek recreation for social and psychological reason. It is sociological parameters. Therefore, recreational fisheries is a sociological fisheries, right? Remember that. So recreational fisheries is also considered as sociological fisheries. Since recreational fisheries is related to recreation conceptually, we must understand the concept of recreation as well. So what is recreation? So recreation, pronounced as recreation, is defined as anything that a person does outside of his or her working hours to refresh and relax his or her mind and body. And it comes from the word recreate, like you recreate something, which means to relax and divert oneself. Recreation is also defined as anything a person does to refresh himself or herself by means of relaxation and enjoyment, so as to restore himself or herself physically and mentally. Just to restore in terms of physical and mentally. Okay. And recreation more or less has the same meaning as play, sport, leisure, hobby, and fun. So, well, I think with that, I hope you guys can relate what is recreational fisheries at this moment, and relates to those different types of fisheries, the other types of fisheries, and in terms of the difference between recreational fisheries and recreational fishing, and what is recreation, which is supposed to be the main ideas of recreational fisheries and recreational fishing activities in general. With that, thank you so much.